Championship game in the 4A Girls State Tournament. And it's two Kingco 4A teams, the defending champion Skyline Spartans and the Issaquah Eagles, two upstarts. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Spark Stadium in Puyallup, Washington. The WIAA Network presents the WIAA Dairy Farmers of Washington, Les Schwab Tires 4A Girls Soccer Championships with the Skyline Spartans taking on the Issaquah Eagles. Alongside Bill Hansen, I'm Tom Smith. And with our play-on crew, we're ready to rock. This is the final championship game of the day in the state playoffs. Skyline and Issaquah, two teams you should be fairly familiar with, Bill. Welcome to the broadcast.
Thank you, Tom. Yes, I would say I'm a little familiar with them. I know both of the coaches, and even though I don't coach girls, I have coached against both Tom and Don for several years in the men's side of the game.
A lot of years go by between these two, a lot of respect, and with two teams that go at it as well. Hard to get a beat on this game. The time they played, they drew 0-0. So we can't tell you the scores were, although both goalkeepers happy to get a shutout. Anytime you go up against your rivals, it's special. But how about on a platform like this? A chance to get each of them a chance to get their fourth state championship.
Yes, indeed. These two teams go back. They're neighbors, essentially. They play in the same league. They play against each other all the time. They finished number 2 and number 3 in their conference in Kingco. So this is the number 2 and 3 teams actually looking to be number 1.
And Kingco always outstanding. If you take a look at the MVP of the league, that belongs to Issaquah and Audrey Thomas, who's been hobbled but certainly didn't show it last night, coming up with an important assist as well as a goal.
No, she played very strong last night, and I was hard-pressed to tell she was injured at all.
Rachel Wheeler, also a key forward, the junior, unable to go tonight. Casey Kovarak in goal as the white-clad Eagles kick off. Who's going to step in for Wheeler, unable to go tonight?
You'd be surprised. Look for a lot of play out of the wing backs for Issaquah. I know that we're talking to the coaches before the game. Skyline is going to try to contain Audrey Thomas tonight. I mean, she's just such a strong presence on the field at all times. So you can never count her out, injured or not. They're going to watch out for these wing backs. Issaquah likes to stretch the field wide, bring the ball down, and then put it across. Lyric Fryer last night had such an amazing game. She was just all over the place, driving hard down the wings and really a factor in the game, to be said. They're also looking to deal with the center backs. The two center backs for Issaquah are very strong. And Don Brayman told me, he says, I'm going to have to try to break them down while watching the wing backs on my defense and see if we can't sneak one in on them.
Okay, folks, there's a bunch of great ideas in the scouting analysis of what to expect in the game tonight. With the ball right now, green clad with a white trim, it's the Skyline Spartans coming up from the plateau. And just down from that plateau toward the river near I-90, it's the Issaquah Eagles. They are neighbors. They play against each other not only in their school uniforms, but often in their club fixtures as well.
Yes, and 6 or 7 of the girls for the Skyline team.
As Sophia Kim over the ball tries to get something going in the middle. The 1-2 is on. They try to go to the third one running. Audrey Thomas in a position, but the keeper there for Skyline.
See, already there in the game. So like 6 or 7 of the Skyline team has played for Tom Bunnell, the coach of Issaquah, for many years. So they know, both teams know each other well, and they know the coaches well. And the goalkeepers have been trained by Bunnell at the same time, from what I understand. So this is just going to be an exciting game. And look for Issaquah to try and contain Anna DeWart. I mean, she played really strong last night for Skyline. She's a key player. And there's nothing you can do but all 3 of the top front players. You know, you got Izzy Marshall up there, Rachel Shim, Amanda Johnson, that are all great players, and they're going to be key factors for Skyline in trying to break down that defense.
A moment of relief as Jordan Branch tried to find Amanda Johnson, scoring one of the 2 goals last night that got them into today's matchup, and then the counter immediately by Issaquah. It could sound at times like the Ron and Tom show, but in fact these are 2 gentlemen, and they know it's about the ladies on the field. They coach them up and give them an opportunity to show off what they've got. And of course they're just as competitive as the girls, but they don't have to worry about it because the competitiveness is in every player there. They've done a good job shepherding them through a tough season.
Yes. And I know Tom's been coaching since he was 19 at the high school level, which was the year that Don graduated from high school, playing against Tom as a coach.
Skyline with a free kick comes in with 16 wins, 1 loss, 3 draws. The Eagles 19-2-1. First shot, far post, looping and just wide. And so there's one of those things that just flashes of moments that make a difference. And there's a bit of a shadow print in the numbers. So along with the ponytail, we may struggle to get you the number, but sinking back deep in midfield is Jordan Branch, the junior midfielder, unleashing that first shot.
Yeah, we struggled with the numbers last night, and it's the same uniforms as last year. We had the same issues. It's that silver number on the dark green. It probably looks great close up, but when it gets dark and you're this far away from the field and ponytails are in the way,
have some fun. Sophia came on the ball as Zoe Kapazinski gives it to her. Issaquah Raby and Abel scoops it up. Audrey Thomas now going wide. They're stretching it, as you said. There's 4 in the box, and it's bounding wide in the deflection by the Skyline defense. Just 2 forward for Skyline, and look at just 2 deep back for Issaquah. And so the midfield slowing down the Spartans counter, and they switch the point of attack to the right-hand side. 2 targets up front, and they go immediately there. And the first touch letting down number 3, Izzy Marshall, the sophomore forward.
Watch for her tonight. Her quickness, and if they can do right what they did there is to get some open pressure to draw Lyric Fryer off of her. Izzy Marshall's going to be open down that side for a long time.
You mentioned Lyric Fryer in white. She's wearing jersey with the number 15 on it, a throw-in to the Eagles. So talk about it, coaching girls is different than guys, but when they play each other, they know each other. Does that settle things down, or they get a little bit more anxious about their competitiveness, wanting to get the one-upmanship?
I don't think there's anything different there. I think women are just as competitive as men are when it comes to wanting to win.
Yeah, absolutely, and we'll see that on display here tonight. 0-0, 5 minutes in, and it's the 4A championships here on the WI network, the WIAA network. I'm Tom Smith alongside Bill Hansen. Glad you've dialed us up. We've just completed moments ago an exciting 3A championship game. 2 folks from outside the Puget Sound area, Downing, Liberty, and Holy Names in succession. It was Mount Spokane falling 2-1 in a thrilling match with Columbia River, the Chieftains claiming it, coming up from the south end, the southwest end of the state. But now it's the 4A championship on tap. Who gets to lift the trophy at the end of the day?
We shall see.
We shall see. Tahoma, ranked number 1, undefeated, fell to Skyline last night by a 2-1 scoreline. Issaquah needing a goal late in the 85th minute, pulling away from Camas and the Papermakers down and booking this all-Kinko 4A final. And yes, they have losses and blemishes on their squad, but not much.
Well, you know, Kinko, everybody in Kinko seems to be a lot more evenly matched, and it seems to be a very competitive division. Not saying it's better or worse than any of the others, but it seems to be a very competitive division.
So you wouldn't say it's the SEC of soccer?
You will never catch me saying that on the radio.
Tahoma coming out of the challenging SPSL, and they're loaded with talent as well. Sometimes coming from outside the Seattle area, it's easy to underrate somebody, and we've seen some great challenges in the 3A, for example.
This is true, and Camas is always, that area of the state is always really strong because they also play competitively in their club teams in a large city.
And so their various club teams play against the premier teams coming from the northwest of the state, and we've got a free kick going the way of Skyline here.
A lot of players in that part of our state tend to play Portland Select and Premier.
And the northwest of Portland holding some very good tournaments as well as good schools. A lot of these players looking down the line at playing at the next level. Not at this point, though. It's all about rallying around their team as Brooke Holland shepherds the ball out of play.
Lyric Fryer will take the throw.
Almost reminiscent of the 3-5-2 that Mount Spokane had in the 3A game. It looks like the midfield's going to be pretty well filled up by Issaquah.
Yeah, watch for Issaquah to attack out of the back a lot.
Good crowd on hand. It continues the earlier match as well.
I mean, Lyric Fryer, while we're talking about her, she's listed as a forward on our sheets. She's playing defense.
Yep. And so much in the modern game, that ability to just adapt to what the game calls for and coordinate with your team.
Yep.
Be in the position you need to be in to make the play.
Well, it's reminiscent of the Roberto Carlos flying wingback.
And he was such a leader, too, going up the left side. he kind of, before Beckham, became the expert of those fantastic dead ball kicks, too. But what a lethal weapon, flying up the left and getting the ball in play, whether for club or country.
Absolutely.
The ties for Skyline comes against Seattle Prep in the second game. They downed Liberty 2-1 to open up their season. 2-2 tie against the Panthers, last year's 3A champions, who were unseeded on the run by Columbia River. Skyline then beat a team from Oregon in Westview before drawing 2-2 down in Tualatin. And tie against Issaquah, 0-0, goes along with the draw officially with Puyallup of 0-0 on their way to advancing. Skyline defeated Union 2-1 and then advanced on penalty kicks against Puyallup. Free kick for Issaquah.
So what I'm hearing you say is both of these teams really deserve to be here.
Definitely deserve to be here. Anytime you get to the Final Four and find a way to get into this final match, number one, you deserve to be here, but also the style of play. You talked about it. It's not just Audrey Thomas for Issaquah. It's not just the one or two leaders. It's a team rallying around it, and you find different weapons, whether it's defensively or offensively, to call up on any given situation.
Absolutely, absolutely. And to be here, there's really never just one player. And we even witnessed that in some of the earlier games where the times and the players have talked about one player individually in each team. But without the support for that player, there's nothing.
Ball bouncing in the box, back to the top of the D circle, but good smothering defense, denying a good look at goal and hitting her own player on the ground. Skyline trying to order up. So the goalkeeper a bit indecisive there. How would you compare these two goalkeepers coming into the game?
Oh, they're both young. They both have got experience at club getting to this point. And I think that knowing where they've both trained, that they're both going to make good decisions and are both going to be aggressive in the box, yet also be attentive enough to know when to hold their line.
Well, Coach Tom goes to the bench in Issaquah with the first sub of the game. Looks like Morgan Hubbard will check in. The freshman forward. And a free kick again for Issaquah. How did the Eagles get here? Well, they started the season with a disappointing loss to the Falcons from Woodinville, but they scored a lot of goals, 4-3. And then they went on a winning streak before Redmond upset their 34-game league winning streak. They drew with this with Skyline, of course, 0-0, but it's been flying colors for the Eagles ever since. And they beat Gig Harbor 2-0, and a free kick as the goalie is protected there, and then advance with a 2-0. Same scoreline against Central Valley, and of course last night. That was a really exciting game.
Yes, it was. Yes, it was. And you know, when you talk about same scorelines of 4-3, you know, what that really says is at that moment either they had players injured or something, but you gave up goals too. And that's a lot of goals to give up in
it really
the game.
Is, yeah. But sometimes you start the season, the coach and the players want to see what they have. So they'll just go all out, play a free-flowing game, and learn what they need to do to tidy things up and get organized. You never want to go out to, lose a game, but you want to check out what you have.
You know, and Tom and I were talking about this before this game, because I coach high school as well. And you realize you've got 1 week to pick your team in tryouts. You've got 1 week to try and get them to play in your system. And then you're playing 2 games a week. There's no teaching how to play the game. They just kind of have to know how to play. And what you're trying to do is build chemistry and get them to play together. If you like each other, we're going to be good when it comes to game time.
That is so important. And how do you meld the skills and abilities? Sometimes it takes weeks to get that rhythm. But both these teams seem to have responded fairly early to early tests. And, of course, down the stretch, like you say, they've earned their way here.
Right. Absolutely.
Midfield battle now. Can't say that anybody really has a solid hold of this game, but they're sort of testing each other out as we're into the 13th minute of play here at Sparks Stadium, the WIAA network. And don't forget, you can watch this live, but you can also dial it up and check out some of the other action, too, here at Sparks. Yesterday, 4 exciting semifinal games, a great final in the 3A, and a good job battling in the corner. Boy, they do not give an inch. Every possession important between the Eagles in white and the Spartans in green. And goal kick rewarded.
I don't think we've seen a corner kick yet.
No, very disciplined defense. Really the only player that we're aware of not able to go is Rachel Wheeler, but Audrey Thomas nicked up in the earlier rounds. She was able to go last night and by all assessments, really able to show what she can do tonight. And trip called there. Five along the top of the 18, one other wide, and just searing in. I'm not sure she intended a shot there. That's a long distance and a bit ambitious if it were.
And a bit wide.
Just say the least.
This is where the coach is going, cross or shot?
Yeah, if you cross the goal and your players are on-rushing, even the defenders, you have a chance for them to redirect it, catch the goalkeeper off guard, get into the goal that way.
Absolutely. Get it in low, get power on it, and all they have to do is get something just to change the direction.
One of the things I like, though, is it's not a tall lollipop, which is so easy for the keepers to read and get under, kind of like a center fielder in baseball. But when you cross it with force, like she did on that free kick, then there's a chance for a deflection or something positive happening.
Right. It also makes it easier because you don't have to put power on it to get it into the net. All you got to do is nick it just a little bit and change its direction.
And there's a chance. 2 touches and out in front. The keeper gets there, but not until the goal scored just the 15th minute in.
Izzy Marshall.
Just a bit of a chess match, and you called it. Izzy Marshall putting it away, and it's Skyline with the early 1-0 lead. Not sure if we could catch all the assisters on there, but that was a cross in, a 1-touch, 2-touch, and then buried for goal number 1, number 3, the sophomore forward, Izzy Marshall, putting it away with certainty.
Like I said, I knew she was going to be a player to watch. I remember her last year, and she was something I'd never heard of her before when she was a freshman last year, and just like, wow, she'd really impressed me with her play and her hustle, her work ethic.
Well, both these teams come in. We have 3 losses between them and 5 ties between them. So we have teams playing under duress. The question may be, how do the Issaquah Eagles, getting to this platform, giving up what would be considered an early goal, not quite the halfway point, 5 minutes away from midway through the opening half, and how will they respond? And as you know as a coach, anytime there's a score, any stoppage of play, you start a half or a game, those are the opportunities for goals to be scored by you or against you.
Exactly. You know, and right now, with the way the momentum will probably stay with Skyline for a bit, but it will afford Issaquah an opportunity to come right back down if they get a little bit complacent and a little overjoyous with what they've just done.
Yeah, 1-goal lead, very narrow lead in this tournament. We've seen those evaporate, and sometimes we've also seen quick goals the other way. I've noticed as well in this tournament, both the 3A and the 4A, that there's it's not just free kicks and other dead balls. It's the throw-ins, too, are sometimes dangerous.
Oh, yes, and I think you're talking about Katie Noonan with that really
just
long
for example.
throw. Yeah, and I've got a couple guys that can throw a ball like that on my team, and I try to make sure the first couple times down the pitch we throw it gentle and slow and small so we kind of keep that hidden the first time we play a team.
Kind of read what they're going to do.
And then zing it to them. Don't let them know that you can hit the back post the first time.
Kelsey Frank also for Mount Spokane. She led to a goal with that, finding Alyssa Lloyd, who nodded it back and gave up and got that go-ahead goal that was the eventual game winner against Holy Names. But that's crossing classification. Let's keep focused here. Here is Issaquah building something, and then Skyline under pressure, seeing if they can't stick a pin in the balloon of the Eagles' efforts. And still, with that throw-in, it'll be Eagles' ball, and the attack coming in the forward third. So that's a somewhat modern revelation, the throw-in, from my understanding of the sport. Typically, though, it's dead balls, corner kicks, free kicks around the area that you've got to watch out for, and the discipline of your defense in terms of not allowing the corner kicks as the cross comes into the box. Not fully cleared once, twice. A third opportunity by the Eagles, and the Skyline defense quells the storm just enough and a chance to get it out of their own end with that 1-0 lead. So important in Issaquah picking up the ball, not allowing them to relieve that pressure until that play out of the far touchline.
Yeah, as you're talking about throw-ins and versus dead balls in the old days and nowadays, I think that some of that might have to do with the technology and a bit of it technique, learning to think that this can be an attacking point, but realistically the balls are lighter, they stay dry. In the old days, they were leather and heavy, and when they got wet, they were like throwing a medicine ball.
It was the medicine ball.
You're playing in the mud.
And imagine a game like this on a wet weekend in November here in the south end of the Puget Sound. If it were not field turf, which gives you the benefit of a steady, more reliable surface.
Right. Ball will still skip a lot more in the rain.
Yep.
But it's still...
Sure beats getting stuck in the mud.
Oh.
Of course, that's where the British style of ball came from, is anything in the air got that ball up and moving as opposed to trying to scoot it along that mud. And our weather around here is very much like the upper end of England.
Yes, it is.
We're here at Carl Sparks Stadium, the site of the WIAA 4A championship match. It's a one-goal lead. Skyline converting an opportunity 15 minutes in, and now nursing that lead into the locker room. That's a long way to go. We're not seeing anybody sink back and slow down. It's all about continuing the style you've started with.
Oh, yeah. It's way too early to make any adjustments or to make any guesses at what's going to happen in the next 20 minutes.
But there was the first 5 to 10 minutes a bit of a chess match, kind of feeling each other out. What are we going to expect? They kind of know each other, but here you are in this stage, and you would not have predicted that goal. It kind of came against any run of play.
Right. Well, look for a lot of changes during the run of play from Issaquah, because I know that Don has scouted Issaquah. This coach of Skyline has scouted Issaquah. I was told 7 or 8 times already this season.
Oh my goodness!
So
kind of expected to meet up with him down the line here.
Exactly, and so Coach Bennell was telling me I'm going to take a couple different players that he's really hooked on and just move them into different places on the field and see if I can't draw some people away from where I want to go.
And so it's Tracy Pang, the junior defender, number 3, checking in the white jersey for Issaquah. And a throw-in, no foul given there. Just because a player falls doesn't mean it's a foul. We've seen fairly disciplined refereeing throughout the weekend here. It's they usually like the players. You're looking for the teams that worked well together, but also the players or the referees with the experience.
Yes, there has. I think I've seen only one card pulled. And the whistle hasn't been overly used. And is all, in fact, this whole weekend, you don't even really notice the referees are on the field, which is what a good referee is supposed to be. Keeps control of the game, but isn't part of the game.
Only one attacker up top initially for Skyline. Now they've got their 4 midfielders with 2 up front. Time bought. Again, it's Jordan Branch, and she tries to switch the attack. And a bit of a miscue by Luke Fryer in the other end. So a throw-in rewarded to the Spartans. Now, when you also talk about look for certain things maybe coming out of Issaquah later with all this preparation, I initially think Audrey Thomas, because she's the type of player with her skill and ability who can take a moment and see something and turn the tide, get it going the other way, as Skyline's whistled for a foul.
Absolutely, I agree. Audrey Thomas is one of those players that it's only going to take a matter of 10, 15 seconds for her to change this game if the opportunity presents itself.
Some players come in heralded and they have just 1 or 2 roles and somehow can't find a way to link up with others and make others around you better. When you've got solid players, as both these teams do, to have an outstanding player like Audrey Thomas, who missed key games this year while being down in Brayton, Florida, where the Olympic Development Program has given her a chance to get looked at at a higher level. And that's important for the players, but also when you can have that caliber of player and add that to the cake, it's kind of like that icing on top.
Right, exactly. And having a team that understands what that does when they let you go, it gives you more strength to stay together, and when they come back, the support is there both ways. We allowed this, we're good with this, you come back, you're good with us letting us that, so you're willing to work harder. The support that goes both ways is immeasurable in what that can do for a team.
Well, when Issaquah takes a look at Skyline coming in, they don't have an Audrey Thomas type player. As a matter of fact, last night they had 2 goal scorers. Who do you think Coach Don is going to be Tom is going to be looking for on Coach Don's team?
Anna DeWert is the one that he's trying to watch and is going to try to keep control of and shut down in the midfield. And then you look at all 3 of those forwards. He'd mentioned all 3 of them as trouble, and he doesn't know what to do with them as much as he can because they're so quick and so smooth and controlled with the ball when they get it. Never trying to do too much.
Body slamming around, free kick to Issaquah. Please continue.
Little chippy on both sides there.
So Anna DeWert, number 7, the senior forward, but you say you'll see us all of them range back into midfield, try to get things going.
Yeah, yes, and you're going to watch Izzy Marshall, like we said earlier, the goal scorer for the night, and Rachel Shim, I believe, has played for Tom and coached by her for 6 or 7 years, knows her really well, he has immense respect for her, and you never know what's going to come out of Skyline because they got so many people that can take that moment in that role and do something with it.
Great to have you on board, Bill, not only because of your insights of the game, but also your knowledge of both these teams and the communities where these players come from. For the uninitiated, I'm glad you dialed us up. Soccer's a great game because you can enjoy it on its simplest levels, but it becomes a chess match, too. It's not just watching athletes do great things. It's how do they implement themselves? How do they work together? How do they respond to the other team?
That's a really great analogy in the sense that it's such a free-flowing game, but yet it is a simple game. There's only 17 laws in this game. You don't have a big tome of rules like you get in other sports. And they're laws. So they're open to interpretation.
And then also the center referee is given the sole decision, has his teammates helping him out on the lines, and in this case the fourth official under the tent on the far side. But he's given the latitude to implement those laws for safety, fairness, and fun of the game. So sometimes he's not going to maybe make a call that would only just be stopping things.
Right.
He's trying to encourage the players to have the best time they can
Right.
safely.
That's why they're laws. Rules are black and white. Laws are left open for interpretation by the judge.
And as a coach, I'm sure you find between your players as well as other coaches, sometimes our idea of interpretation could differ from a referee from time to time, let alone other players and coaches.
No, the referees are perfect. They always get it right. I coach at Mercer Island, so the referees are always right.
Mercer Island, a strong team in the Kingco 3A, and I like in the 2A, 3A, and 4A classifications, they all play some games at different areas against each other,
right.
And that grows the sport, grows the team. But go ahead with your point.
I'm trying to buy some calls with that statement.
Oh, there you go. Okay. So many referees, duly noted.
Yeah, no, it's hard. We don't always agree. You don't always see things, but you only see things from your perspective. You know, the truth is what lies. The reality is what lies between my truth and their truth. In all things.
Yeah, and of course there's a way to play that game. I've been impressed because while the girls are sophisticated at the 3A and 4A level that we've observed here this weekend as the free kick is launched in the box by Skyline, Issaquah averting that attack and now trying to set up their own, and really both teams having a hard time. The free kicks have been almost the sole opportunity to get something going. But so often it's a psychological game, and I've found that the 3A and 4A players in these 2 days really are very focused on what they're all about. They're not taking dives. They're not trying to unduly play a game with the referees. And yet the psychology of the game, especially for young kids in high school where emotions and other things like schoolwork and families and what have you can totally wreak havoc on the plan.
Right. And, you know, and I know Tom and Don enough. I know Tom really well. And the way we talk to our kids when we're coaching, you have 3 things that are really important when you're here. Family comes first, then school, and then soccer. And then I always go to my kids and go, soccer is your family.
And family does come first, so ergo. Great conversation with Coach Teddy Matalis. His team claimed the bronze medal earlier today in the 3A and struggled with the team, trying to find that relationship. And at Holy Names, and so often kids, especially girls, it seems to me as a father of 2 girls, academics matter. So many things are important. And so when he asked for them to make soccer important, they have to remind him of where it was. And he said, that was so great for us because what we came in with a sense of team. They understood that I cared, and they cared about what we were going to do together. And we gave them what they needed, whether it was academics or whatever. And the team began to give each other and me the communication that helped them become a team with that greater chemistry.
That's great insight by Teddy. And I know Teddy really well, too.
Yeah.
Like you say, academics are important to that school. A team average of 3.7 grade point average. I mean, that's
outstanding.
That is outstanding, exactly.
And you're cheating them of 7 100ths, by the way. It was
3.77,
but that's okay.
Well, okay, see. Well, there you go. I learned something new here, too. But, I mean, that's outstanding for the team. That's outstanding for each and every individual on that squad. And by him being able to communicate with them and them being able to feel like they can communicate with him, that builds the team bond and the strength that will make them play better, especially when coaching women. Because women need to feel that respect and like each other and like the coach to really work for them.
Right.
Whereas men are a little different. It's like, I don't have to like you. If you do your job, we don't have to talk off the pitch.
We're handled. We're clear.
Very different.
And yet for young boys, too, sometimes, like you say, team becomes that family as Skyline flirts with the goal but doesn't really have a good look. And that is something worth paying attention to, because then they really do adopt their coach and their teammates as family and will go the extra yard, which is what's required in a team sport.
Absolutely. You know, there's a story I heard a long time ago in it goes back to the women's national team, I believe. And when Tony DeChico took over there, he came in and he didn't like the way that they would all kibitz and sit and talk while they're stretching.
And here we have an opportunity for Issaquah, long range, but they're setting up with 6 in the box and 2 just behind.
So he would, let's watch this play first, and then I'll continue.
There we go. So many options as they array themselves left and right. They're not clogging the middle. Good job by the defense. Nodded away, and center of the circle, setting up, trying to go the other way is Casey Kavarik, one of our circled numbers, if you will. It's so hard to identify who's going to be the producer out there because it comes down to all 11 players and the clearance by Skyline. Continue, please.
Absolutely. So what he's doing is when he joins the national team, he doesn't like the way they just talk and loosely warm up, and he starts giving them a more regimen. Let's not talk. Let's get to running. Let's get to stretching. We're more of a team, blah, 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 teaching them like you would men. And they're not doing so well. He gets a phone call at like midnight one night from Anson Dorrance, the coach at North Carolina, who
preceded him
with
great success.
Exactly. And at North Carolina, Anson Dorrance, I think, went 11 years without having a national championship only once. That's like 10 out of 11 years.
Basketball aficionados, that's sort of the equivalent of John Wooden for UCLA back in the 60s.
Exactly. So Anson Dorrance calls him up and says, hey, women got to play with each other. They're not playing for you.
Yeah.
Just shut up and let them kibitz.
Yeah.
So as soon as you stop making them regimen and run certain things and let them do it their way, bam, we're on the world stage.
And somehow, as so often, that innovation, that understanding really has filtered into the men's game. Long-range
Great shot.
And that was a good look from distance, trying to see if they can test the keeper for Skyline. Not on frame, but a good idea.
Oh, yeah. You know, if you're not going to take a couple from outside, you force them. They don't have to come out and protect you. Just like we were talking basketball there with John Wooden. You pass the ball up around the perimeter. You get a couple 3 buckets in. They have to step out. It opens up the middle where you can come back down the lane.
Good.
Same thing with soccer. If they get shut down the middle, take a couple from long distance, make them come out and guard you.
We're here in the 30th minute. It's 1-0 lead for Skyline over Issaquah in the 4A championship game here at Sparks Stadium in the WIAA network. Alongside Bill Hansen, I'm Tom Smith. Glad you've dialed us up for the action and hopefully a little bit of insight of what's going on out there. It is a bit of a chess match. We've seen a couple of times when the referee had to step in and unsort through the piles of bodies and reward a free kick. But really it's been a game where you can't really identify a leader other than the 1-0 score on the board.
No, you can't. And when that happens, when you can define a leader, that's when the game's going to change.
Right, because someone's going to react.
When someone steps up, yeah.
Right. So far,
right now they've got 20 players stepping up, 22.
Yep. And they're playing hard, playing for each other. I do like in girls sports to refer to the national teams because so much was accomplished when the unknown group of players went to China and won the first world championship for women, came home, and all of a sudden, 94, they weren't able to do as well, but in 99, set all kinds of records, and there's a tough hit at midfield and a stiff talking to coming, and we will stop the clock for our first misconduct here in the finals. And it will be number 10, Lee Sims, who provided a game-winning assist last night for Skyline, and that might change the mentality going forward here. But going back to the national team, look at the tremendous resilience after falling to Japan in disappointing fashion. Great games against Brazil and France, and then the opportunity of the Olympics to come back. Grab the attention of the American audience, too. And in the year when we're celebrating Title IX being signed, 1972, many years ago, what a great opportunity for us to benefit from and enjoy this sport.
Right, you know, and I wouldn't say that we fell to Japan.
That's a good point.
I would say that Japan played incredibly inspired and rose to the moment, and
really
and that's what a great team at a great time can do for somebody. And
Fryer putting in the mix, and another opportunity for Issaquah, and right there to make sure is Emily Burrell, the junior goalkeeper. And that is a good place, of course, in the wake of the troubles in Japan, as we have others celebrating our first misconduct. They really did play emotionally, and they also displayed a caliber of soccer that people could enjoy. They were not the tallest on the field, but they sure played well.
Well, that's the other beauty about soccer is you don't have to be tall. You don't have to be big. All you got to do is be smart. I mean, it's really a thinking game. And it's a simple game, and you can screw it up by trying to do too much, by trying to dribble too much. Just collect the ball, knock it, move, get it back, knock it again, move.
That's why it's called the beautiful game. It's somewhat like art. Sometimes it's the simplicity that really sings to you. How did they do that? And sometimes it takes years and years for the artist to achieve that level of simplicity. And really here with these players, isn't that what it's all about too? Mastering their skills as well as their understanding so they can just boil it down to the simplest things.
And you know, the best players, every player comes into their prime as they're starting to be 28 to 30 years old,
that's right,
which is past their prime in most games. But what it comes down to with soccer is that's when you start to lose your physical edge. So you have to start using your brain. And because it is such a thinking game, that's where you really gel and the two match together and become one.
Izzy Marshall demonstrating a point you made earlier, Bill, just hustling back 30 yards deep from her forward line, gathers in the ball, and then there at the top when the ball comes their way, Issaquah absorbs and has the counter. And Juliana Cruz snuffed out by Lee Sims. So even though she's on a caution, Lee Sims playing confidently on defense for Skyline.
Well, it all depends on your intention when it comes to that a lot.
Number 20, Annie Loralee Hoffman.
Look at her speed.
And a good turn by Casey Kavarik against the pressure of Marshall. And now space in the midfield. Skyline sinking back. Issaquah looking forward and not finding the right move. Maybe looking up while she was making her kick. And here comes the Spartans. Yeah, boiling it down and making the simple move. Ball is turned away. We'll have a substitution and a chance to breathe. So this has been a game of fits and starts. Each team beginning to get just a little bit more of an opportunity and then turned away by the defense and the counter the other way, not giving you really a chance to set your feet again.
Well, in a lot of ways, yeah. I'd like to see some of the change, and I'll bet you see this when they come out of the locker rooms. Some of that quick counter taken away. Because, and not taken away, but optionally pulled away as the main source of getting up the pitch. Because reality, soccer is all about change of pace and change of direction.
Yep.
As a dribbler, I'm going to go fast, I'm going to go slow. When I get you slow, I go quick again. I'm going to come left, I'm going to come right, get you on your heels and make you defend me. As a team, it's the same thing. We'll slow the pace down, then we'll make a couple quick breaks. We'll slow the pace down, switch the ball to the other side. Come from the right, come from the left, come up the middle, come at you quick, slow build up.
Now, so far in preparing for that locker room talk, do you see Coach Tom Brunel's taking a look at different things and how Skyline might be reacting?
At this point, the only thing that I think he's going to talk to them about being there for each other. Let's look at more possession, and let's look at our build-up. Because if you play possession, the other team doesn't have the ball, right?
Hey, folks, it's a lot of fun so far. A 1-0 advantage for Skyline, but Issaquah trying to find their way against the Skyline defense. The Spartans and Eagles know each other. They both come from Kinko 3A, a three-time champion in the middle of the 2000s, and just last year's champion Skyline. Each with three in hand are trying to get their fourth tonight, and the golden opportunity is there. Slight edge on the scoreboard to Skyline, but a sense that Issaquah has a goal in them, and then what?
Then the game's wide open all over again. At 1-1, it's a start. It's a brand new game. You know, and I look for Coach Don Brayman to step into this locker room and try to protect this lead but still attack. Yep. So maybe what I would do if I had his squad with their skills on defense and midfield and then the speed you've got up top, I might pack it in a little bit and try to hold here and just play for that counter a little bit because you're going to keep Issaquah on their toes from the speed up front. And then you're going to be able to hold the defense because he's got such a strong, solid back line with all four of those players.
Nice adjustment by Skyline. They're not really packing it in at all. They've been trying to attack, but the pressure of the Eagles has begun to take its toll. And then stepping in to make that key play just to deny a serious look on goal was number 4, Alicia Gable, the junior forward. So she's being drawn all the way back in defensive action. And that's responding to the game, but it's indication of the pressure that's building for the Eagles.
Absolutely, and that's what we were talking about with possession, and changing the point of attack needs to be done a little bit more, because I noticed several times there's a wide open player on that far wing, and they're just not getting their heads up and getting away from the pressure with the ball.
And that can happen. The tighter the defenders, the less likely you are to look up and look far, as well as to your options off your left and your right. Soccer's a game of angles, and one of the best things you can look at as a novice is the triangles on the field. As an open space for Anna Lorelei Hoffman, she goes off to the white ring. 3 options up front, and it's denied by the Skyline defender, and it's 2-on-4 for the Spartans offense. Running into space and trying to buy time for the midfielders to catch up, and good defense being tracked down, and I believe that was Amanda Livingston making the move. Is that number 18 on that right corner?
For Issaquah?
For Issaquah making that play.
I think that's Lyric Fryer out there.
And that's Fryer. She's all over the field.
She is, and like I said before the game, you'll see her up and down that whole sideline. You'll see her on this side where she started the game, on this side, the near side, and now she's on the far side. See, I told you, Tom's going to move people around to give Skyline a different look.
And a throw in the front end, trying to get it back to a teammate, doesn't work for the Eagles, and now Skyline with a chance to take a little bit of a leverage and maybe some steam off the pressure of their defenders, who hold up at midfield, watching 2 Eagles off your picture to the left. And now the throw in for the Eagles. Well, they tried to get in the box, but nobody there for Skyline. Now, the Eagles with the need to get it up the field. Alicia Gable giving it up, and it's punted towards the center circle. Eagles backing each other up quite well.
Play the way you're facing.
And no one there to help her out, so Kelly Sullivan comes up with it. And the Spartans begin to work the triangle. But look at the defense close down the near options. So they have to go all the way back to the center back, Lee Sims, up to the top. And we have her coming from an offside position when if the referee recognizes it. And that was Amanda Johnston, the sophomore forward, who came all the way from the offside position. And finally, the recognition, and will it be a whistle? And yes, they will call the offside. It's less than 2 minutes to go here in the half. So not too many opportunities before the mid-term horn here.
I do believe that if that throw-in that he had called was going Issaquah's way, he wouldn't have pulled it back and called the offsides.
Exactly.
Play the advantage. Which these referees have done a great job of this weekend. I'm really, really happy with the style that they've allowed the girls to play, and at the pace that they've allowed the games to continue.
Brooke Bofto gets the ball wide, but her teammate on the left can't keep it in play. Now it's Issaquah trying to build 5 defenders back for the Spartans, so very conservative here with the final few minutes. And just like the first 5 minutes of a period or just after a goal, you're most vulnerable to letting in a goal within 5 minutes of the end of a period as well. Working their way back in. Lots of space, good wide open alignment on the organization offensively, and clearance by Skyline. So Issaquah beginning to see some things there, see if they can't pull one back before they go into the break, but they've got just 45 seconds left. And it's Issaquah chasing down the ball to seize that opportunity, and Skyline were more than happy to bleed out the final seconds. And the long throw intended to be safe. Some body contact and a free kick awarded to Issaquah, and that'll just buy some more time as Fryer tries to get the ball back in position. Actually, that was Branch. And it will be Kavarik with a restart with half a dozen seconds left. Not a ton of time, but we've seen people score in less than 8 seconds at various levels.
I've got a room full of referees on my right here. They were all reaching into their pockets and pulling cards.
And all those in the stands as well. Well, that's the final horn of the first half. We have another half to play after the first 20 minutes. It's the Spartans of Skyline leading the Eagles of Issaquah 1-0. We'll be back after halftime activities, but stay tuned for a special interview. This is the WIAA Network coverage here at Spark Stadium of the 4A Championships.
The future of our state is very important to Washington dairy farmers.
And it starts with our youth. The dairy farmers of Washington have been partnering with the WIAA for years. Sports are very important in building good work ethic.
They help students by teaching them discipline, teamwork, dedication, and preparing them for the challenges that they're going to have later in life.
The dairy farmers of Washington encourage you to support local youth by attending WIAA championship events.
At Les Schwab, along with great prices, our tires come with the kind of protection most other places just don't give you, which includes free flat repairs, equal value replacements, pre-trip safety checks, and more for the entire life of the tire. With the other guys, well, you just never know. So why is free protection on your tires good to have?
Lifetime protection. That's our best tire value promise. Les Schwab, doing the right thing since 1952.
The future of our state is very important to Washington dairy farmers.
And it starts with our youth. The dairy farmers of Washington have been partnering with the WIAA for years. Sports are very important in building good work ethic.
They help students by teaching them discipline, teamwork, dedication, and preparing them for the challenges that they're going to have later in life.
The dairy farmers of Washington encourage you to support local youth by attending WIAA championship events.
Hi everybody, welcome back to Sparks Stadium, where a 1-0 lead is held onto by the Spartans from Skyline against Issaquah. It's an all 4A, Kinko 4A final, and there's a lot of action to come. But we have a chance to talk to the Dairy Farmers Queen, Miss Abby Lohman. Welcome to our broadcast.
Thank you for having me here.
Well, now you had to run up here after dishing out a couple of awards, and after the game there'll be some action as well. How do you keep your energy up?
Well, they have lots of high energy, so it's actually, we kind of feed off of them after a long day.
Well, these athletes, I know, need refreshment at halftime, going home, what have you, and we're glad to have the Dairy Farmers of Washington underwriting not only this tournament but also our broadcast. Talk to us a bit about your experience as Queen representing the Dairy Farmers of Washington.
Well, I get to come to WIAA Sports, and we like to make sure the athletes are knowledgeable about drinking chocolate milk after exercise, because it has been recognized as the best recovery drink for athletes, not only for hydration, but because of the healthy carbohydrates and protein.
So now if you're watching at home, parents and kids, write that down. You heard it here. Chocolate milk is good for you, and it is. So
Absolutely.
What's your favorite sport, Abby?
My favorite sport is basketball.
Okay, so this is basketball out there in the field. These players run up and down. Any chance
They
of them?
dribble.
And they're dribbling the ball?
They dribble.
Okay, great. So more action to go. Abby's going to be watching, and she'll be there at the end as well when we come back the second half, when Issaquah and Skyline continue to tango right here at Sparks Stadium on the WIAA network. Thank you.
The future of our state is very important to Washington dairy farmers.
And it starts with our youth. The dairy farmers of Washington have been partnering with the WIAA for years. Sports are very important in building good work ethic.
They help students by teaching them discipline, teamwork, dedication, and preparing them for the challenges that they're going to have later in life.
The dairy farmers of Washington encourage you to support local youth by attending WIAA championship events.
At Les Schwab, along with great prices, our tires come with the kind of protection most other places just don't give you, which includes free flat repairs, equal value replacements, pre-trip safety checks, and more for the entire life of the tire. With the other guys, well, you just never know. So why is free protection on your tires good to have?
Lifetime protection. That's our best tire value promise. Les Schwab, doing the right thing since 1952.
Welcome back to Sparks Stadium at the half. Skyline Spartans leading the Issaquah Eagles by a score of 1-0. Alongside Bill Hansen, I'm Tom Smith, and you're watching the WIAA network coverage of this WIAA Dairy Farmers of Washington Schwab Tires 4A Girls Soccer Championship. And it is an all Kinko 4A with the lead and the ball, the kickoff to the Spartans. Issaquah building and mounting some interesting probes into the Spartan defense. The Skyline finding a way to avert giving up an equalizing goal. Bill, what's the halftime discussion been, you think, for each of the coaches?
I don't like we discussed before. I think that Coach Bunnell of Issaquah is going to ask the girls to work a little harder and work for each other, a little more possession, some shorter passes, less distance passes, switch the point of attack, maintain possession in the midfield.
And a wayward shot as Juliana de la Cruz has a chance to build something, and they are committing the players up top, but much like the beginning of the game, the first shot goes wide. Stats as we take a look at it, Skyline and Issaquah with shots, 3-2, a slight edge to the team leading 1-0, 3-2 there. Saves, none really come up by. I'm sure Issaquah's Taylor Fry would love to have just one of those back. Fouls even at 7 apiece, corner kicks 0. Very disciplined game, and yet we've seen some bodies clashing while you and I have been enjoying the discussion on soccer and what it takes to be a part of these teams that have made it this far.
Yep, and we've only had 1 yellow card in this game so far.
Yep, a misconduct given.
Is that what it was? It was given to Leanna Sims of Skyline.
Yeah, Lee Sims has it. The goal, though, the important stat, Izzy Marshall jumping on a 15th-minute assist by Amanda Johnston. Johnston had the game-winning assist last night, so she's very much informed. This is a good weekend. She'll remember it long.
Oh, yes, she will.
It's always good to have a stat like that to point to. But stats aside, the playing, the defense, the midfield organization, the attacking opportunities, maybe a bit ragged only because of a solid defending.
Right. You know, you never know. But, I mean, you look at what you talk about with Amanda Johnson, the way she's been playing, and with Izzy Marshall, the way they've been playing and the way they play together. They're both sophomores. Don Brayman has 2 more years to look at forward to playing with these girls and building teams around them as well.
And we're going to stop the clock in the early going, and we're going to have our second booking.
Second yellow.
Number 17, Abby Litka, gets the caution in the 43rd minute. And so she and number 10, Leanna Sims, keep your eyes on them. And nobody really leading in the shots on goal category. As we said, 3-2, Skyline with the advantage. Marshall with the one that results in the only goal up on the board. Free kick for Issaquah now. And they array 6 players along the 18, and they've always seemed to have done a good job of having a couple of options deep off that 18, and now they actually pull one of them for that purpose.
Lyric Fryer standing over the ball, looking to serve this up to the back post would be my guess, probably around the 12, the edge of the 6.
A near post run, the whistle by the referee slows things down. Not sure it was on, but Audrey Thomas is someone you certainly want to pay attention to.
Oh, absolutely.
And so is that going to be a distracting run? If, like you said, she's going to far post, it would not have been there. Thomas not making that near post run.
Nope.
And the
ball not
lands
going far post either.
That top there. Going the other way, it's Tracy Pang feeding the top of the 18. Challenge of the ball.
Ooh,
2 bodies collide. You're playing the ball high and bodies come in below. That sometimes can catch you off guard. Fryer wins the ball for the Eagles.
Well, that tends to happen when you're both looking up at the ball.
Yep. And that tough thing that might happen too didn't happen there. The 2 noggins coming together. Lots of attention paid to head injuries, and in particular, that's the one time at any level where a referee now will blow the whistle if they're concerned about head injuries. So.
Absolutely, and we saw that in the second game today. We had a player down for
that was the Tahoma Camas bronze medal game, which you can
right,
dial up here.
I remember who the player was, but she was down for like 20 minutes.
Had to call in the ambulance.
Yep, took her out in an ambulance. They left the parking lots without the lights on, so that's a good sign. She was moving before they left her, took her out of here.
We wish her well. We would give you and pass on any news, but it's not forthcoming given the ideal attempt to protect the privacy of the players.
Right, and her, so, but yeah, our thoughts go out to the family of Cassie Borland. Hope that she's okay and can continue her career in the future. She's got another year to play, hopefully.
Skyline defending their title on the field here, trying to get their 4th, 3 and 6 and 7, as well as in 2004 for the Eagles, so each trying to grab their 4th. Skyline unseating undefeated Tahoma last night.
Yep.
And the first of the 2 4A semifinals to claim their spot. The Camas Papermakers, always a thorn in the side of the teams from the Pacific Northwest, battled long and hardy, but it was the end of the first overtime when Issaquah finally claimed the winning goal. A sudden victory.
And I shake my head at that because we lost to Camas in the finals in penalty kicks.
You think these girls recall that?
No, because it was a long time ago. And
this
it
is
was
when you
boys.
were a player.
As a coach.
Okay. That's a tough one. Camas, so good in so many sports, actually came in outside the top 10. So doing a great job to get in the Final Four and playing in that bronze medal game with Tahoma.
And in the interest of honesty, it was actually the year before I got there, but it was such a bother to the rest of the squad and the coaches that I feel that bother as well now.
Athletes have long memories. Sometimes it's the duty of a coach to help them forget things so they can just pick themselves up and pay attention to the duties at hand.
Yep. You know, and that long-term memory only comes to things like that. During the game, you have to have immediate amnesia. You have to forget the mistakes you made. You have to get up and keep going and not be bothered by the little things. Otherwise, they pile on you and you just get down on yourself. Get into that slump. But if you think about the slump, you're never getting out of it.
Abby Litka returns, having to sit after her caution, receiving the 43rd minute. Long-range effort from Skyline, and that's not too long from the last long shot attempt by Fryer for Issaquah at the end of the half. So they're going to try to do what they can to test the keepers. Coming in, Emily Barrel for Skyline and Tala Fry for Issaquah.
And I believe that Lyric Fryer does feel very comfortable shooting from long range. She took several last night as well.
Well, she's clearly good with the ball and long distances, whether she's serving up across or going for goal. A 4-1 win against Liberty early in the season. Fryer, the first goal, assist to Audrey Thomas, who had 2 assists on the day and helped secure that 4-1 win.
And that was a non-conference match.
Yeah. Not a bad one, though, when you're going against Liberty, who was in the Final Four. Lost in their attempt earlier today to pick up the bronze. Holy Names picking up some medal and the ball out of bounds. Issaquah beginning to put things together as Morgan Zach. And instead of the throw-in, it's going to be a free kick for the Eagles, and they set things up again.
This would be Lyric Fryer once again over the ball. She seems to be the designated spot taker.
Especially on these long free kicks. She gets it in the box. Trouble. Out comes the keeper, and Barrel handles it easily, and she's barreled over by 2 of the attackers, unable to redirect their runs, or so it would seem. Referee making his presence known right there. So the restart from within the penalty area here in the 48th minute. Issaquah hunting goals. Skyline having trouble putting much together in forms of building an attack. Sack down the left side.
Good ball. Great idea. A little bit much.
And Skyline turns the corner now. Pressure continuing from behind. And look at the white shirts bottled in the green shirt over there looking for a teammate. And she knocks it off Skyline and immediately back into play. So Issaquah, just everything they can do to pick up the pace and keep the pressure on the Spartans. Pick up the ball and try to get that quick throw in. Just keep running at the Spartans. Skyline really, I don't think, came out with a design to hold it back. But again, as it was at the end of the half, trailing by 1, Issaquah on the front foot, putting pressure on Skyline and forcing them to go into a defensive position. The long ball to Amanda Johnson. She's the solo up there, and she tries to contest, and it's knocked off of her for an Issaquah Eagles throw-in.
Yeah, the ball hasn't seemed to come out of the Skyline half very much this half so far in the last 9 minutes.
Well, we're approaching a 10-minute mark, and it's been all Eagles coming out of the locker room.
Whatever Coach Tom said to them in there seems to be working.
Can you see any tactical changes, or just a matter of the esprit de corps, just the sense and the desire to attack?
I believe it's just the sense and the desire. You're absolutely right when you hit that on the head. I haven't seen any real tactical changes, but they seem to be playing with a little more fire and a little more together. And that's the key, together.
Test the mettle of the Spartans, and you wouldn't expect a team that's made it to the championship game to fold too easily. They're going to weather this storm and keep themselves mentally and focused on the game. But in the end, no matter what level you're at and how well prepared you are, if you're always on the back foot, it wears on your defense. And there's an opening about to come, is the sense. And
eventually there's mental wear that breaks down, and it's like, gosh, we can't just get it out of here. And once you start to think that way, things start to happen, and you get caught up and make a little mental error, and bam, somebody tucks it away. Yeah, and sometimes that wakes you right up. Sometimes it just sets you up for the next one.
And looking the other way, the longer Issaquah knocks on the door and gets frustrated, perhaps a sense that they might get frustrated. I don't see any sign of that either way.
Right.
But that is a factor to consider coming in. Again, Skyline now a little bit of space to control, but back to the ball still. And they go deep. And it's a bit of a nick in the effort in the front line. Front running is Zach, and is trying to stir things up for the Skyline defenders, not giving them time on the ball. We talked about angles being so important and timing. When you have time on the ball, you have a chance to lift your head up and choose some options, make good choices. And Skyline now just barely making the play. Shouldered out of the way, Johnson leaves it on the wing, and coming back for help is the ever-present Ms. Fryer.
That was a very, very smart ball back to the keeper, too.
That will take the pressure away for Issaquah, but now the Spartans pick up possession and begin to build from the back line, but no one in the middle to pick up that searing ball. Abby Litka, an idea that other Spartans didn't share. Eagles dump it into the corner, giving chase as Morgan. Zach under pressure. The right back clears for the Spartans, but again, it's not to a teammate. The clearance, though, does rebound to the feet of Brooke Holland, and they begin to work around the other side from the center defender position. And shepherding the ball is Olivia Witherspoon. Nice turn to a teammate who gives it back to her, but the roll back just over the line.
Unlucky.
Tight spaces, sometimes difficult to maneuver in.
Oh, yes, and that's where you got to play one-touch ball.
Now, talk about the stamina of these players. Many of them in tournaments and others are used to back-to-back games, but these are highly intense games. I mean, the battle against Tahoma last night for the Spartans, and, of course, that 85th minute winner against Camas for Issaquah.
Yes.
What kind of toll does it take, and how does it affect the way they play and how the coach makes decisions of who's on the field and what they're trying to accomplish?
At this point, like we talked about, you know, the girls at this level.
Morgan Zach finding Fryer. She's in the box. Pressure from behind.
Oh!
Out comes the keeper, and it's pushed just wide, and it will be a goal kick to Skyline. And an appeal there, thinking that maybe there was a call to be made. Casey Kaverick. And the referee with no ears for that.
So, yeah, that was a great opportunity. Probably one that should have been tucked away.
She had that extra step on the defender. A good job by Skyline's defense to close it down. The keeper, Emily Barrell, helped to reduce it, and we're going to have a whistle and a free kick for Skyline. And there's several hundred referees taking up their cause, chanting in the stands. No,
that's for sure.
They're saying Issaquah. There's no complaint of the refereeing.
No.
They're just cheering their Eagles on. I brought my Eagles jacket. Did you?
No.
You got your Sounders outfit on.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, they've got
I don't
a big
root
game
for any Eagles.
And it's cleared. Skyline trying to mount some pressure of their own just to get back and around the goal. The last 10 minutes, all they could do was flirt around the goal of Taylor Fry. They really didn't have a good look. And in the half, no saves by either goalkeeper.
She's going to stay down over there for a minute.
And I'm sure she'll take the time.
Oh, yeah.
Right in front of her bench. And we'll have the clock stopped.
And this time is for when you get a little bit of rest, you get a little bit of water, especially your second game in 2 days.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we were talking about that earlier, and a lot of these girls playing tournaments in their club teams in the off season where you're coming out on a Saturday morning, you're playing a game, Saturday afternoon you're playing a game, and then Sunday you're playing a game. Takes a toll on a body, both physically and mentally, but to play at this level, you're kind of used to that year-round play and that style of stuff. So coming into the season, they're all pretty well fit, and this second game today is really all based on fitness. How long can they run? And the first thing that goes when you get tired is your brain and your touch. So you'll see that effect happen, but I don't expect to see it at this level as much as I would at some others.
We saw a healthy rate of substitution for both coaches, maybe trying to manage the resources of the players on the field, give them a chance to get a breath, and maybe a look at the game as well. Here in the second half, do you expect as much of a use of the bench, or do you think that's going to be a continued strategy to try to keep everybody fresh so long the game is close?
Well, you know, it's tough to say. Some of that, I think, is to get a different look. Some of it may be player management, but at this level, I'm not sure player management is really that key. But then again, my teams, we haven't won a state championship yet. We've been really close. We've been 3-2 several times, but never the big dog. So maybe that's something that I need to take a look at when I get back there this spring and go, maybe player management is more important than I think.
Hey, it is a team effort that includes all the players, including those on the bench, the coaches, the administrators. Taking a look again at the all-league players from KingCo 4A, and this is 2 KingCo 4A teams going at it. Audrey Thomas, of course, the MVP from Skyline and DeWeert, one of the forwards recognized along with Rachel Wheeler from Issaquah. Lee Sims from Skyline and Lyric Fryer from Issaquah in the first team. Also Casey Kaverick from Issaquah and Rachel Shim of Skyline in the second team, and a handful of worthy recognitions on the honorable mention level. So both teams really, maybe not stacked with talent, but with a healthy dose of talent, and also the future looks bright for both these squads.
Yes, and that really is telling of the communities around those schools.
Emily Barrow comes out to clear it. Again, the pressure by the Eagles, and Skyline has to result in a goal kick to take a breath and a chance to get back at it, and the referee right there. So maybe there's some talking going on in the field that we're not actually able to hear from up here.
Oh.
As the referee is certain to keep an eye on all things that might influence the game.
That, I think, is obvious from the first yellow, which you say was for dissent. That's just talking. You know, in high school sports, there's certain words you're not allowed to use.
And that will issue a yellow immediately. Working hard is Izzy Marshall, trying to make a go of it here at the top end. Can't really mount attack. They're 25 yards away from the Issaquah goal, just the way the Eagles keeper, Taylor Fry, would prefer to have it.
Absolutely.
Here's Juliana DeCruz, choosing to go in the right corner, and able to divert it is Abby Litka. So pressure mounted so far. Those questions the Eagles have asked, the Spartans have had the answers. However, they have not been able to solve the solid defense.
No. And it's been a good game that way.
And a great atmosphere as it continues in the chill evening of November, midway through the weekend before Thanksgiving. All are grateful to be here, but there is a dinner to be served, and right now the inside edge goes to the Sisters in green with a 1-0 lead over the Eagles, who have been...
It's 43 degrees out there right now, and at least the rain's holding off. It's been called for, and it's been raining most of the day. But right now, it's pretty good and just chilly out there, which will go away.
Heady play by Bianca Saint. She had a goal last night. The assist from Sims put them through, and she backheels into the tight defending. And all Olivia Witherspoon and Saint, kind of body language there. They're not too pleased with each other right now. I guess that's the nature of the game when you're competing in a pitched battle like this, 1-0. Spartans lead the Eagles.
Everybody wants to win.
Marshall with an opportunity. Over the ball, makes a cut. Good defending and a nice long leg stepping in to win the ball. And the folks supporting Issaquah like it. The Spartans, not so much. Everything looks fair, though. Referee agrees. 24 minutes to play. Spartans relish any opportunity to be working on some kind of attack to be mounted. Not so much they enjoy this. Juliana de Cruz now over the ball, and it's thwarted by Lee Sims. Sims on a card along with Litka, but really their style of play has continued. Eagles, Fryer making a turn. Into the box, the long-range shot, and that one goes high. Well, we've had some shots from inside several times this half, in fact. Emily Barrell has had to come out to snuff out an Eagles foray into her box.
Well, the Eagles, Issaquah, as long as they keep knocking on this door, sooner or later, somebody's going to open it and let them in. Skyline needs to be able to create some sustainable offense instead of just the few treks up the field that they've had.
And it looks like Ms. Fryer is not at all pleased with the call. Lyric Fryer called for a foul, a free kick to Skyline. They go both ways, and with good refereeing, it tends to equalize. Sometimes it's not always something you're aware of in the moment, and that's where composure comes in.
Yes, and coaches and players alike both have to be composed when not agreeing with the referee, because it will go both ways until you start talking about it.
In the box, working around, two defenders, a shot just wide. A nice left-footed effort. The right midfielder making her way down for Skyline, and
both teams seem to be playing exactly like we anticipated. Skyline's playing with the counterattacks, and Issaquah's playing with the possession and build-up.
I believe that was Bafto with the effort. As the ball in the box. And a rare foray into the Eagles box. But still, Tala Fry not being called upon to make much of any of it. Shots wide by Skyline. Izzy Marshall, the only one to find the back of the net, and an assist by Amanda Johnston, and that is the 1-0 lead to the Spartans.
As a coach, I like nothing better than a bored goalkeeper.
On your end of
On my side, correct.
Yeah.
That unfortunately happens to me frequently. Again, it's strength of the community in which I coach in. Like we were saying, Issaquah and Skyline, they've got 3-4 premier clubs right in the local area. You got Eastside, you've got Crossfire, you've got Issaquah. You got Newcastle's close by, or Newport, I mean. So there's a lot of strong feeders into those programs.
A lot of strong players coming out of that action, too. And the benefit at the high school level, it's a bit like the Olympics in a way. It's its own all-star team. You have the best players in your senior, junior, sophomore, and sometimes freshman class trying to work together in this unique environment. And high school is our community. What a great way to celebrate that, and a great thing for the girls to be able to have these seasons, and especially if they extend into a postseason like this.
Right.
The long throw knotted wide. The challenge by Skyline, goal kick to Issaquah. And again, another white and green pile of players. We've seen that on more than one occasion tonight. A fair game, though, but
absolutely
both teams just going at it here tonight.
They're just playing hard, and they both want to win. And you don't see any real scrapping and back talk and sass out there between the teams. So they're playing with strength and desire, but also with mutual respect. And that's an important thing in sport, especially at the high school level.
Yep. The game is an excellent opportunity for that. In soccer, such a big field, such responsibility. Despite all the coaching, it's up to these girls to corral themselves. We're about halfway through the second period. It's still a 1-0 lead for Skyline. Bill Hansen along with Tom Smith. Bill, what's the midterm report card, if you will, in the second half?
The midterm report card. Both teams are playing exactly like we thought. The ball's been back and forth, playing at both ends. Skyline's had some opportunities. Issaquah's had a lot of possession and a few opportunities. Realistically, all it's going to come down to is who's got the legs, who's got the lungs when it comes down to the last 5-10 minutes of this game to be able to maintain that lead or tuck one away or two away to try and pull ahead.
And the first 20 minutes, it seemed like the bulk of it was Issaquah pressing on the right side of the field against Skyline. But finally, in the last few minutes, the Spartans have found a run or two to get into that Eagles box.
Right, and that's just showing that now the difference in style of play between these two coaches and well, not even the coaches, but how the teams, what they bring to the field and the coaches have to work with. At Skyline with 3 very fast players up top, you tend to want to play more counterattack with that. They've got a really strong defense, which has been proven by Issaquah not being able to get a goal. Issaquah plays more of a possession game, which you can tell because they've had the majority of possession in this game.
Now, granted, we've done a lot of conversational talking, but we haven't called the number 9, Audrey Thomas, a lot. Is that typical for her? Do you look for her to kind of step up a little bit higher, or what is that a factor of?
Well, some of that is a factor of that they're marking her really tight, and they're trying to take care of her and make sure that they contain her, like we talked about in the keys to the game. But on the other side of that, as a player or as a coach, what I need from my player, if you're the go-to gal, either you take somebody out of the play and then you're not in the play. You just have to live with that person in your hip pocket. You got to check back to the ball harder. You got to come to the play. You got to make sure you can insert yourself into the game better.
Now, a stoppage of play for an injured Eagle in the attacking end of the field for Issaquah. And the referee now will come back for the restart, and he could just award a free kick as it was clearly in the possession of the Eagles as opposed to a drop ball. And we'll welcome Bill back to the broadcast momentarily. 17 minutes remain as the clock is stopped here at Carl Sparks Stadium. And the indirect restart from just inside her own half. And again, launching forward, Issaquah has not been shy in committing players on the attack, especially since that 15th minute tab by Izzy Marshall for the Spartans. And a clear push from behind, and the Skyline Spartans will have a free kick. And that's a let-off, isn't it? As normally on the free kicks, especially with Lyric Fryer behind them, they've found a way to make the most. In this case, Skyline gets the benefit of an untoward foul, and those things will happen.
Right. Now, see, as I was looking at that in that set play there, you've got 2 people watching Izzy Marshall and Lyric Fryer taking the kick at the 50. Why not commit one of those players that's watching Izzy Marshall, commit her up top, get more numbers there. You've got Lyric Fryer back, and you've got somebody watching, and I don't realize who right now, but you've got the other center back watching Izzy Marshall.
And here come the Spartans with numbers 4-on-4, and others coming in late. But a good defensive effort momentarily releases. Skyline still in possession, though, looking for that option. The defensive pressure of the Eagles now. And the takeaway snuffed by Litka, Abby Litka, getting it back to a teammate. And suddenly, a mistake by the Spartans.
And Thomas hustling right there to get that ball, to make this play start.
And she comes in from a slightly offside position. Sophia Kim trying to find her teammate, get ahead there, but I'd say that has to be less than a yard offside.
I would say that was a very close call. And, it's tough to say.
Of course, they always have the best position right there. They try to be in position to line it up. These angles are deceptive. And we've got some folks disagreeing right here in Sparks Stadium. Can you imagine that? A referee who someone thinks may have made an incorrect call. Oh, well.
Again, as a coach, the referee is always correct and has the better angle on it than I do, no matter what.
No matter what. And does have the final say, it seems. 15 minutes remain, and Skyline clinging, and I mean clinging to a very slim 1-0 lead.
And it certainly never hurts to argue. I always just kind of hold my hands to my side and maybe shake my head, sir. But no, there's nothing to be won by making anything of it. You just got to, again, amnesia. Pick your head up and move on with the game.
And there is a way to make your case and get an explanation or set them up for the next time. If you do it calmly and with respect, most referees won't deny you that.
Issaquah on the attack here. Fryer up the wing.
5-on-3.
Audrey Thomas playing the ball down into the corner.
Trying to make that turn. A little slight push.
Oh!
Cut back at the 12.
Beautiful ball, just a
Two
little
green
bit
shirts
heavy.
on her. Witherspoon with an opportunity. She can't even cross it in the box. Pang now tries to feed it back into the mixer, and Skyline again under loads of pressure. Amanda Johnson turning and giving chase is Fryer, who wins the ball back for the Eagles and immediately switches, but it bounces in the center circle.
She is just tireless up and down that wing all day long.
I don't believe she's even been out for a break.
Nope, she didn't come out last night at all either.
Izzy Marshall,
Maybe
number
once.
3, just momentary possession, but giving it up to the Eagles. Now 4 midfielders try to form that defensive wall to make it difficult for Fryer and the Eagles to get into the attacking half. Finally, they're there. 3 up front, 4 in midfield for the Issaquah Eagles. 4 back and 4 midfield, very standard defense. And I think you can say Skyline fairly well organized. It's been some moments, though, when the Eagles have pressed them and gotten them out of position.
Oh, yeah.
That's a question of whether or not you can convert those openings.
Right. This game is not over. I believe that Issaquah has had more better opportunities than Skyline has had, but Skyline has been able to convert on one occasion, which is the difference in this game at the moment.
Any key mistakes that either team is making on a repetitive basis as we enter into the 68th minute now?
I don't see any real holes or any mistakes that I, as a coach, would be able to capitalize on. I think
on either side.
On either side. I think both of these teams are playing very strong, very solid, and are playing the games that they need to play.
Issaquah trying to target Thomas, and she goes right up in the legs, and wanting a bit of a call there in defense is Brooke Bofto, and not getting it. So Issaquah maybe getting away with something there. Throw-in goes to Issaquah, and now it looks like 7 committed to the attack here. An 8th joining at the top of the box. But space cutting over.
Is that Johnson there?
Skyline, and it will be a corner kick. And a wayward elbow, not making a play on the ball. No thought more than that of a handball to be called. That would result in a penalty kick in the penalty area. Thomas will take the corner kick, appears from the far side. Witherspoon is far. They've got 4 inside. DeCruz right on the keeper, and Barrel pops it up and tried to clear it off the line. It's still in play. And there's 3 green shirts making a good solid play. The throw-in to Issaquah. Well, Issaquah throwing everything into the box. Skyline rallying around the ball. And you have no less than 10 players either in the box or within 2 yards of the box as one is kneeling, tying their shoe just inside the D circle. The forward up top looks to be Johnston. And on the throw-in, Fryer, far post, and just over the head of DeCruz, and it's popped back in. Barrel goes high. The challenge is high. Yeah, players knick-knacking all over there. No call. Great. Tremendous defense under tremendous pressure. Issaquah still has it, though, and they go to the right side now. And having a chance to make the turn is Hoffman.
Skyline's just unable to get the ball out of their third right now, that defending third.
Geez, moments like this where they have slight possession, but then the giveaway at midfield. And immediately going the other way, it's Hoffman. Thomas with the first touch. And a good job working their way this time from the center of the defense. This could be costly if you give it up as you have. And now players back into an onside position for the Eagles. And that central defender is Brooke Bofto, making sure, and we're going to stop the clock with 10:11 to go. And it will be a card. This is the first one for an Issaquah player as Morgan Zach goes into the book in the 70th minute, and we'll have to take a seat for a bit.
Yep.
Not sure what I saw in that. Did you have an opinion on what the referee saw?
Oh, probably the wrong word came out of her mouth.
Oh, one of those, huh?
Yep.
These are hotly contested, and normally it's the one-on-one contest, but we're seeing actually multiple players from each team go into the fray and test for the ball.
And we haven't seen a card for any of that. I bet you it's all dissent, and such language for such lovely ladies.
Yes, I think ladies was one of the things they had to learn how to overcome in a way, allow themselves to play full out. That's partly what the young boys and girls need to do in any sport that they pick up.
Yeah, well, As a parent also, my son is 21 now. I realized at some point when he was like 15 or 16, looking at him play in Premier and going, wow, you know, if he was more aggressive, he'd go a lot farther. He's a smart player, but if he was just more aggressive. And then I started looking at the kids that were really aggressive. Boy, they were jerks off the field. As a parent, it's like, do I want my kid to be more aggressive and be a jerk around, or do I want him to just be a nice guy that fits in with society and I can live with him not being a super athlete?
Well, I don't think there are any jerks in the field today. These are highly competitive ladies who show great respect for the game, each other, and their opponent. And they're just playing to the edge, and the referee's allowing that. So there's a little bit of spillover, but nothing truly untoward.
And there is a difference between overly aggressive and competitive.
Yes.
And
Marshall on the ball right now. Trouble for Issaquah and a big clearance that's important for the Eagles.
Very important.
And important lead
that
control.
Run up the line.
And that's what a Thomas can give you. She goes to the surface. Remember, she had an injury several games ago, and she comes up just a bit gimped there. But just as we talked about, she's beginning to show herself as an important leader for this Eagles team.
Absolutely, and she is making a difference. And just in the last 4 or 5 minutes, she's really had several great touches and distributions of the ball down in the attacking third.
And it's Skyline now trying to apply pressure, not just with possession, as Marshall makes a touch around one defender, and another Eagle steps up to slow her down in a solid collision. Is it off Marshall? It will be a goal kick. And so what's important is Skyline has struggled to get possession. They haven't been able to do it as a team. And it seems like while Issaquah has several people able to control it, all of a sudden for the last 5 minutes, it's been Thomas who can control the ball at the feet, look up, and sort of be the general of the attack.
Right, and with that change happening, they're getting in deeper.
Yep,
and knowing
deeper.
what injury she's playing with and knowing how tired these girls are getting on both sides, what that is that you're seeing in her is heart.
Her will to win. There was something about the fact that she was injured, and I'm sure if she couldn't go, her parents and her medical advisors wouldn't let her coach included.
Absolutely not.
But if she can go, if there was any way to go, Audrey Thomas is going to be in the field tonight.
Absolutely. I mean, this is, you know, she's a senior. This is her last game in high school. So I'm sure she's probably going to play somewhere else. I don't know what it is, if she is, and where she's committed, but I don't think this is her last game ever.
No, she's going to have a future, and right now each team was 6 seniors trying to look for that leadership, and Thomas providing it for the Eagles. But all of a sudden, Skyline beginning to be on the ascendancy, a sense that they're beginning to take away some of that pressure. It's been a while since Barrow's been under pressure, maybe a minute or two, which seems like a while in a game like this. 7 minutes to go, though, here in the 73rd minute. Alongside Bill Hansen, I'm Tom Smith. You're watching the WIAA network coverage of the 4A championship final in girls soccer here at Spark Stadium down in Puyallup, Washington. Skyline, the defending champs, but each team with 3 to their name trying to go for the 4th. Last year's champs, the Spartans, with the 1-0 lead here. Or a 1-0 if you'd rather. Rather have a go at it in that way.
If you have your druthers. Whatever you want to say.
We've talked a bit about the influence of the national team and the national games, if you will, but also with the Sounders being so strong and the Sounders women hosting the professional players who no longer had a lead before they went off the Olympics. The women's game is healthy, and the girls here show a tremendous future. As it's knocked out of play to Guzman, playing a pretty strong second half here. She's been much more involved, to our view. And it'll be stopped just to take back those 5 yards she nicked in the line.
I got to say, Nance, I'm sorry I haven't made it out to a women's Sounders game yet.
Well, you'll have your chance, as it looks like they've set the future for that young team that's going to play in the W League. Oh, a bit of a trouble, and making a meal and a mess of it was the center back, Casey Kavarik, and that's a very uncharacteristic mistake. Fortunately, it's some 45 yards away from goal.
That was an accident, not a mistake.
There you go.
Ball popped off of her knee into her hand.
And being in an unnatural position, the referee probably made the right call there.
Well, regardless of unnatural position or not, she maintained possession of it. She was able to gain an advantage from it.
5 forward for Skyline. They have that lead, but they want to press if they can, get that go-ahead comfort goal. A cushion bobbled by Fry, and she leaps forward to make sure. And right there on the doorstep, Izzy Marshall and company ready to pounce. Final 5 minutes, Bill. We're down to the wire here. It's anybody's game, and yet the edge has to go with the team nursing that 1-goal lead.
Only because of that one goal. It's really still anybody's game at the moment. With the way the Eagles of Issaquah have been playing, they could come up with one at any moment.
And it wouldn't take long the way they move up the field, too.
Right. And with the way Skyline is moving back up the field in counterattacks, with the few opportunities they've had, getting alone with the keeper, who knows, they could get another one right away here soon and put the game away.
Back on the field for Skyline, number 11, Amanda Johnson, receiving instructions, no doubt to help in releasing the pressure, containing some possession, but also not putting their team in those vulnerable positions to give Issaquah any more edge than they need. They have climbed on a ledge here with their play ever since 10, 20 minutes before the half, and they've continued to press against Skyline, who've shown themselves quite composed under pressure and sometimes maybe fortunate with the way the ball is bounced.
Absolutely. And then it's something that both of these teams have shown tonight is composure and class. Well, except for maybe the couple words that have caused dissent. But other than that, that's just competition and being in the middle of the battle.
Hard for us to comment not being there, but so far what they've shown us has been a class delivery performance by both teams. Applying pressure, responding to pressure.
There's been nothing dirty. There's been no chippy physicalness after the ball or away from the ball.
Just focused on the game. And we've had multiple players, too. You've got your starters and your senior leaders, but the bench players have come in, and they haven't stepped back either. And we have our second caution, this time on a reaction, I believe, by a Skyline player.
That's the fourth card today, fourth caution.
Yeah, that's actually the second for Issaquah.
Was that an Issaquah player?
And that's the one who came off. I haven't seen a green one directed to the sideline. You must leave the field after a caution.
Yeah, in high school you do.
So it's Kapasinki, number 2, with the second.
So that's 2 for each.
Zach and Kapasinki for Issaquah, and for Skyline, it's Sims and Litka. And these girls are experienced enough to walk that line so far, it would seem.
Oh, yes.
4 up front for Skyline, dumped into the box, bouncing inside at the 12. Marshall galloping to it, and a whistle. It'll be a free kick.
And I must say that with the respect to the game that both of these teams are playing with right now and the class that they're showing, that is not only an attribute of the girls, and it's an attribute of all of their coaches they've had all of their lives to be able to maintain that and breed that into them well enough and teach them well enough, and not to mention their parents.
Yeah.
I mean, parents are so unsung sometimes in an athlete or in a student's life.
Yeah.
And something that we always preach where I coach is like, make sure you go home and tell your parents you love them. They do things for you that you don't understand.
You don't even know. And they've done a good job here representing their schools, but representing their families as well. Under that situation, remember, they're being coached. They're desiring to compete at the highest edge, and with 2 minutes and 20 minutes left, Skyline giving up the ball, up 1-0. Trying to keep the Eagles away from their goal. Emily Barrels had her moments, and she's come up as she's needed to with her defense. And it's a shutout she'd love to continue to work on here.
Oh, yeah.
2 minutes remain. 2 minutes, the PA announcer says. Marshall again buying time and space. Has Johnson to feed. Issaquah coming up with it, solving that dribble momentarily. Deep, though, they go. And it's a chance for Skyline, and not even thinking about going back a goal. Maybe showing she might as an option, and the ball out of play. And more seconds tick as Skyline can take this throw. And so now, if you weren't frantic before, you might certainly elevate your sense of urgency here if you're Issaquah with less than 90 seconds remaining.
This is where it all comes down. Now you got to throw everything at this, because if you don't tie this up and you lose by 1, losing by 1 or losing by 2 is the same at this point in the tournament.
Abby Litka throwing in. Jordan Branch battling. Good job by Bofko. Long kick forward. A minute remains now. Play at the line. It's going to be a Spartans throw-in. Litka will get it from her opposite number, Juliana de Cruz.
She holds onto this ball long enough.
Counting down to 50. Another throw-in for Skyline. Each of these nurses the clock closer to the resolve and the resolution. The Cruz now helping, so Litka can more quickly get the ball back in play. Approaching the half-minute mark. The Ole song that's made famous in the mid-'90s. And a free kick and a throw-in awarded again to Skyline. They advance 10 seconds and 10 yards at a time. Knocked out of play, and again the Spartan throw-in. A quarter of a minute remains. Johnston looking for options. Drops it in front.
That's a foul.
And there's the countdown. There is a free kick. The countdown as it goes to Skyline is immaterial. The Gals in green rush the field. The final score 1-0 at the final horn. Issaquah, the Eagles. Boy, did they leave it all on the field. Just enough energy with their disappointment to walk back towards their bench. Meanwhile, the Spartans celebrate their second championship in a row and the first of these two teams to claim 4. Bill, your quick thoughts on the windup of this game as we prepare for the celebration. Both teams gets a medal. They've earned it, and they've given us a great display tonight in this 1-0 game.
Well, you know, the joy that goes with this victory is something that personally I haven't experienced. I recognize what Issaquah is going through personally and very clearly, but the joy that these girls are going to take with them for the rest of their lives. This is back-to-back state champions.
That's awesome.
You don't get that very often. Will they do 3?
We're already asking here. They barely had a chance to get them.
With as many people as they're graduating, I'd be happy to see them back here next year. I doubt 3 is in the works for anybody at the high school level because of the turnover of players.
And there's so much competition. Just those edge-of-your-seat victories like tonight's was. Sure, the goal was in the first half, but you cannot say the second half was not without its action, without its drama. Tremendous display by both teams. And you said it, Issaquah leaving their heart, soul, and bodies on the field tonight. They gave it their all. Right. Would you circle a player of the game for the Eagles before I pay attention to the Spartans on the winning side? Let's talk about some of the top performers.
Wow, you know, it's really hard. You gotta look at the heart in which Audrey Thomas played with in the last 20 minutes of this game, how much she showed up and how much she inserted herself into the game and stepped up. She's a possibility, you know. It's really tough with Lyric Fryer, the way she's able to run up and down the field and get involved in the game and how much she had to deal with it. But it was hard when the ball's not on her side. It's really tough for me to pull a player out of the game. You
know, it's a difficult game that way because we had so many battles at all parts and positions in the field. I think I would probably circle Lyric Fryer throughout the game consistently. She offered the most threat, but you can't deny the effort of folks like Audrey Thomas, Sophia Kim, and the others.
Yes.
Juliana De Cruz coming up big in the second half. Zoe Kapasinski, and, of course, Morgan Zach.
Even Tracy Pang with several balls that she was able to play into the box.
Taking a look at the champions, we have a lot of good performances as well. Emily Barrel was barrage back there in her defense, and somehow they found a way to rally and be in the right place and dodge a bullet here and dodge a bullet there.
Right.
But who do you highlight? I mean, for goodness, except for Izzy Marshall. She was the rare possession up front, the goal scorer, of course, which makes the big difference on the scoreboard.
She's the one that stands out because of that goal. But I'm going to have to say, if I really had to give it to a player from I would have to look at one of the center backs or look at Barrel, the goalkeeper.
Okay. Well and good. Maybe a split decision. Marshall, with their possession, the goalkeeper Barrel are co-players of the game for the Spartans. And the Dairy Queen of Washington, Abby Lohman, celebrating with Issaquah now, giving the trophy who was held aloft by the 4A champions in 2012. It's the Skyline Spartans, along with our crew. And we've had a great technical crew on hand. I'm Tom Smith, Bill Hansen. Been a lot of fun. Thanks for dialing us up here in the WIAA network. Hope to be with you next time. The final score, 1-0. Spartans claim it again. That's all for now from Spark Stadium in Puyallup. You've been watching the WIAA Dairy Farmers of Washington, Schwab Tires 4A Girls Soccer Championships right here on the WIAA network. So long.